Hey everyone, today we're going to be testing out brand new high-end makeup, and as always, I love to give you guys affordable alternatives. So I'm going to be doing one side of my face with the high-end makeup, one side with the drugstore or more affordable alternatives. And I'd love to hear your opinion right at the beginning of the video before we get started. Which side of my face do you think is high-end? Which side is drugstore? To be honest with you guys, I'm having a really hard time telling the difference. So I think it just goes to show you that you really don't have to spend a ton of money to get a really similar look. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Jen. I hope you will consider sticking around and hitting the subscribe button, especially if you like completely unsponsored makeup reviews and also a focus on drugstore and affordable makeup. So if that sounds good, let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. All right, guys, so let's start with primer first, and I have the new Drunk Elephant Be Goldy Bright Drops. And this claims to be an illuminating, barrier strengthening serum that adds a sophisticated golden glow to the skin. I find that it kind of gives more of a champagne color. I was expecting it to be a lot more golden than it actually is. And it does contain skincare ingredients like the niacinamide, and there's some other things that are supposed to help to fade hyperpigmentation and dark spots and things like that. I mean, I don't know if I really need those things in my makeup considering I'm already wearing skincare. So I kind of feel like that stuff, it's an added bonus, but it's not completely necessary. I'm just gonna put a little bit here on the left side of my face, and then I have a drugstore or more affordable alternative over on that side. So I do really like this serum. I've been using it for a couple of days, and what this actually reminds me of is a serum from the brand Versed, which I used to have, and I cannot find it. I looked all over the place. I don't know what I did with it, but it was super similar to this product in that it had a little bit of a golden tint, and it was a really light serum texture like this, and it had some skincare ingredients in it. I do think it's a really good alternative to the Drunk Elephant, and it's much more affordable, so I'll leave that one linked down below. But anyway, I think you guys can definitely see the glow that this gives my skin. And what's really nice about it too is it's not overly glittery. It's more of a pearlized glow, so I don't really notice this enhancing my texture like I would expect it to. So I do think it's really beautiful, especially under foundation. And on the other side, I'm going to be using the Hamish Artless Glow Base. So this is actually a glowy SPF that I've also been using throughout the summer, and I really enjoy this so much. Even though it's a sunscreen, it has that really light serum-like texture, very similar to the Drunk Elephant, and it also gives your skin that beautiful illumination without being too glittery or sparkly. It just looks very refined and gives your skin a beautiful glow. Now, this one is not a golden color. This one I think is just a little bit pinker, but once you blend it into the skin, like it's so sheer. All that I really see anyway is just the glow. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really notice a color difference from one side of my face to the other. But either way, once you put foundation on top of either one of these, you're just gonna see the little bit of sheen coming through. You're not necessarily going to see the color anyway. So I think the Artless Glow Base is a great, more affordable alternative to the Drunk Elephant, and you also get a little more product in here. This is 40 milliliters and the Drunk Elephant is 30. All right, so next up, I don't actually have a new foundation to test, so I'm just gonna quickly apply the Hamish Moringa Ceramide Tinted Moisturizer. This is what I've been using all summer, and I really love it. It reminds me of kind of a thinner version of the It Cosmetics CC Cream, and I also like this one a little bit more than that too because it doesn't have a scent to it, and I just love how natural this looks on the skin as well. So just gonna quickly pat this in, and then we'll move on to concealer. All right, next let's move on. I have the new Haus Labs concealer. I've heard so much hype about this. Everybody's talking about it. So this claims to be a lightweight, long-wearing, non-comedogenic concealer with niacinamide, fermented arnica, and a hyaluronic acid complex. It's supposed to blur fine lines, brighten under the eyes, and depuff, along with concealing redness and hyperpigmentation. It's supposed to leave your skin hydrated. I got mine in the shade 3 Fair Rosy, and the one thing that I really noticed about this concealer, I actually find this to have a very, very dry texture, and I was kind of shocked by that. It feels kind of like one of those moussey type foundations, and normally I can't stand those, and I feel like they make my skin look really dry. But for some reason, when it comes to concealer, and really I don't put a lot, like I try to just put the minimum that I can, usually a couple dots here on the outer corner, and I just blend that because I feel like I have more darkness toward the outer edge of my eye and also a dot on the inner corner. But I try not to put too much directly under my eye because that's where I have wrinkles. But despite this feeling really dry under the eyes, when you blend it out, it actually feels really smooth. And I think because it dries down so quickly, it's like it doesn't even have time to crease. It just kind of sets down immediately, which I really like. And I do think that it gives a very flawless result. You only need a tiny little bit of product. So like from one eye to the other, I think this is definitely brightened. It looks really smooth. I'll show you guys a close-up once I do the other side. And speaking of that, I feel like the Haus Labs concealer reminds me a bit of the Flower Beauty Get Real concealer. Not exactly, because I think the Flower one is a little bit creamier feeling, while this one has that kind of dry, moussey feel. But the Flower Beauty one has just as much coverage in just a little tiny amount of product. And also I feel like this dries down really fast, just like the Haus Labs. And even though it dries down quickly, I find that this one also doesn't look dry under my eyes. It's actually one of my favorite concealers. And I have this one in the shade Ivory. So I'm just gonna, again, put like the 2 dots on the outer corner, 1 on the inner corner, trying to make this as even as possible. I'm also gonna blend this with the sponge. And like I said, this one is just as pigmented and it gives you a lot of coverage with very little product. And I wouldn't call them exact dupes because the formula feels different, but I do feel like the end result is very, very similar. So if you're looking for a drugstore alternative to the Haus Labs, I think this is a really good one. So I just want to zoom you guys in quickly so that we can see what these two look like side by side. So I think these both do an amazing job at brightening up the eye area. I love that you don't need a lot of product because I feel like the more concealer you cake on, the bigger chance there is for creasing and it just looking dry and kind of heavy. So I think these are both very lightweight and they both look really smooth under the eyes as well. Next up, we have a new powder. This is from Huda Beauty and it's her Easy Bake and Snatch. She did send this to me in PR and I'm really excited to try it out. And I have her Cherry Blossom shade, which is the light pink. And this claims to be a creamy, hydrating, non-comedogenic pressed powder designed for targeted brightening, lifting, and setting for medium coverage and a natural finish. It has hyaluronic acid to help smooth and give a non-drying texture and avocado derivative for controlling shine. So this version is also supposed to offer more coverage, like they said, a medium coverage versus the loose powder I find gives a little bit less coverage. And this is actually an incredibly smooth powder. She sent this little puff for me to use as well. But this powder, when you swirl your finger in it, there's no powdery kick up. There's nothing like that. It actually feels really firmly pressed into the pan, almost like you're not picking up anything, but then you can actually see it on your finger. So it's just not powdery. There's no dust that goes everywhere. It's honestly as smooth as silk. It feels beautiful. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on the puff and we'll go right under the eye over here. Let me just press this and make sure it's not creased. No, it looks pretty good. And it's funny because I did see, I think it was Michaela on TikTok. She was using this powder and she said it was way too glowy and shiny, which kind of made me a little nervous because I don't like putting a lot of glow or shine underneath my eyes. But I don't know if it's just because I have dry skin, but I haven't noticed that at all with this powder. Like, you can definitely see how much brighter it is here, but I feel like this side of my face looks more matte than this side. It definitely looks like I applied a powder. So I don't know why she was getting so much glow. It doesn't look completely flat matte. There's a little hint of maybe like a satin finish going on here. I think it just kind of prevents it from looking dry. It looks more like the finish of your natural skin without anything on it. And as you can see, this definitely gives a nice brightening effect under the eye and it looks super natural. I will definitely zoom you guys in once I do the other side. So my affordable alternative is another K-Beauty product. It's from the brand I'm Mimi, and this is their Pink Blur Tone Up Packed. So I actually got this on Amazon. I'm Mimi has an Amazon store. They're a Korean brand, but you can also get them on YesStyle as well. So this claims to be created with fine powders in a light pink shade to help tone up the complexion and smooth out the skin for a blurred satin finish. It's also supposed to give the skin a matte but slightly glowing finish with micro pink pearls. And it's infused with pink calamine, a pink tone powder which helps soothe the skin, and acacia extract to prevent the skin from being dry. So it even sounds kind of similar to the Huda powder in that it has the pink pearls to give a slight little bit of glow. And also when I swirl my finger in the compact, it feels exactly like the Huda powder. It's very hard pressed into the pan. You don't get any kind of powdery kick up or anything. So I find this to be an incredibly similar product, and they also include a little puff as well. So I'm just gonna put this one over on this side. And we'll see if this one brightens as well as the Huda powder. In fact, looking in the mirror, I almost feel like this one looks a little bit smoother on the skin than the Huda. So I'm just gonna zoom you guys in and we'll take a closer look. Okay, yeah, so looking up close, I definitely see a smoother effect on the I'm Mimi side than the Huda Beauty side. I think even though the I'm Mimi powder said that it had the pink pearls, it looks a little bit more matte than the Huda side. Not that I think that one looks shiny, but it has that slight bit of glow to it. And the I'm Mimi side just looks extra poreless and smooth. And if I take my fingers and just kind of lightly touch my face right here, this side feels baby soft and smooth. This one feels smooth and a little bit mattified, but this one is just like next level. It feels amazing. So while I really do like the Huda powder, I think it's really nice, I feel like I like this one a little bit better. I just think this under eye looks a little bit smoother and it feels a little bit smoother as well. So I think this one just did an amazing job. But like I said, I do like the Huda one too. So I think you can't go wrong with either one of these. All right, moving on to eyeshadow. I got the new Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3. So this is an all matte version and it has 10 powder shades and then the 2 creams that are under the little door. And I also love the layout of this palette. You have a top row that has warm neutrals and then the bottom row has cooler tone neutrals. So I like how he kind of separated them out, and the formula is so beautiful as well. The matte shades just feel so velvety and soft. They have a nice amount of pigmentation. I find them to be super easy to blend. I used this palette the other day and I was really impressed with it. And overall, I just think it is such an easy kind of staple palette to have in your collection. So I want to do a look with this palette, and I also have a drugstore or affordable matte palette that we'll use as well. So for this one, I'm going to pick up the white shade and I'm just going to set my eye base, which is the MAC Paint Pot in Painterly. So I'm just gonna dust a little powder over that just so it doesn't grab to any of the shadows. And I'm using the white shade because I'm gonna go down this bottom row here and do more of a cool tone look. Next, I'm just gonna grab this shade right here in the middle to apply to my crease. So I'm just gonna start blending that back and forth. This is one of the Angie Hot and Flashy brushes from BK Beauty. It's the A503 and it's a really nice crease brush. And I think you can see how pigmented these shadows are. Like I don't have to go back in and pick up any more. What I picked up on the brush was plenty. It's actually possibly a little too much. I'm just gonna take the BK Beauty 201, which I used for that white shade, and I'm just gonna blend out the edge of this a little bit. And then just for some dimension, I'm gonna pick up this deeper shade right here on the Sigma E27. And I'm just gonna focus this on the outer corner. And even the dark shades in this palette perform really nicely. They're not patchy, which sometimes I feel like dark shadows can be. All right, so I'm gonna leave that here because I actually am gonna use the shimmer shade on my lid today. I have some new eyeshadow sticks that I wanna test out from Fenty, and of course a drugstore alternative. So I'm just gonna do the other eye with a more affordable matte palette, and that is from ColourPop. It's their Gone Matte palette. So this is one of their mega palettes, so you do get a ton of colors to choose from in here. You have so much going on, but I just love ColourPop's formula, and I think if you love matte eyeshadows, this is an amazing one to have because you not only get your neutrals, but you also have some rosy shades in here, you have some peachy warm colors, as well as those dusty mauvey purpley shades, and then you also have some gray. So I feel like you have a nice mix of both warm tones kind of on the left side of the palette and cooler tones on the right side. These shadows also feel incredibly soft and velvety. I think they're just as easy to work with as the Patrick Ta formula as well. Just like with the other eye, I'm going to pick up this shade right here. It's not a bright white, but it's kind of close. It's a really, really pale ivory. So this one's called Eurofaux. And I feel like this shade has a little bit of a cooler undertone, so it's not as warm as some of the other lighter shades in the palette. Next, I'm going to pick up this medium brown shade, Snoozin', and I'm going to use this one for my crease. And this shade is actually a little bit warmer toned than the one that I used on the other eye. So I think I'm probably going to just add a little bit of a light gray color to it, just to try to get this eye to match this one. So I'm just going to quickly put this down, and then I'm going to pick up this shade Overcast over here, which is a really light pale gray. And I feel like this shade mixed with the one that I just used, which was a warmer brown, should make a really similar color. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I do think it's coming out pretty close. All right, then I'm just going to deepen the outer corner with the shade Sleepwalker down here. This actually is a really deep, cooler tone brown, and it looks really similar to the color in the Patrick Ta palette. So I think this one will be a good match. No, I'm just patting this on. Actually, this one is a little bit more pigmented than the one in the Patrick Ta palette. It's coming off a little bit darker, but hopefully once I blend it out, it'll be okay. All right, so I tried to get them as close as I could, but honestly, I feel like they are really, really similar. And again, I love the Patrick Ta formula, but I also really enjoy ColourPop, and the ColourPop palette is like half the price. So if you're somebody who's really into matte shades, I feel like you definitely cannot go wrong with the Gone Matte palette. Next up, I wanted to try some of the new Fenty eyeshadow crayons. You guys know I love eyeshadow crayons. I'm always talking about the Sephora brand ones, which by the way, I noticed are no longer on the Sephora website. I was really bummed. It looks like they replaced them. They have a new eyeshadow crayon out now that's the same name, but it only comes in 3 colors, which is really, really disappointing because I loved those so much. But I digress. Let's take a look at the Fenty Shadow Sticks. So these come in several different colors. You get matte and shimmer finishes. I actually got 2 shimmer ones. And these claim to help you create endless eye looks with these long-wearing twist-up eyeshadow sticks that deliver high-impact color intensity. They come in a slim twist-up stick for easy application, and they're easy to blend. They also are supposed to resist creasing, fading, sweat, and heat, and they're supposed to be transfer and waterproof. So I thought I would use the shade Get On Taupe today. So I'm just going to go ahead and start applying this right to the lid, and I'm going to start in the inner corner and just work my way back toward the outer corner. I have to say this is applying very easily. I actually haven't tried these yet. This is my first time, but I want to do a wear test for sure and see how they hold up. With cream eyeshadows especially, I think it's very important to do a wear test because they can crease or they can start to get patchy. I'm just going to blend the upper edge of the color. All right, so there's that one. Again, I will zoom in and we'll see them a little bit closer, but first I want to do the other eye. Today, I wanted to use the Milani Gilded Eyeshadow Sticks. So these came out not too long ago, and I actually really love this formula as well. I think they're great. They have a nice creamy feel to them. They come in tons of different colors. I find them to be very easy to work with, and I do think they would make a good alternative to the Fenty. The only thing is I don't have a color that's exactly like this taupe shade. So I'm gonna wear the Sterling color, which I think is a little bit more grayish. So my eyes probably aren't gonna come out even. I was trying so hard to get both sides of my face to look the same, but at some point it's not gonna happen. All right, yeah, so this is definitely a different color. It's a little bit darker and also a little bit more gray. And one thing that I'm noticing with the Milani right away is that there are little micro glitters in the formula where the Fenty one is just more of a metallic look, and I'll quickly zoom in just so I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. The Milani one went on just as easily. It didn't tug at my eyelids and it doesn't feel drier than the Fenty. I think it feels actually very similar and I find them very easy to work with. The effect I think is just a little bit different because with the Milani you do see those little micro glitters kind of sitting there, whereas the Fenty one just has has more of a metallic look with the sheen kind of all throughout. But I also do want to mention that not all of the Milani ones are like this. Some of them do actually show up like the Fenty. For example, we have the shade Blossom, which has a little bit of pink in it. And I was thinking if I just put this one over this gray, I think it'll just brighten things up and help my eyes to just look a little bit more similar, because I think the Fenty shade is just quite a bit lighter. So I just want to try to even things out. I'm just going to blend the edge of this one quick, but this Blossom shade does not have any micro glitter. So when you apply this one, it looks really smooth. Like, let me just show you guys quick. This is it right here. So you can see it just gives like a really nice sheen, but it doesn't have those glitters like the Sterling shade has. But so far, I really do like the Fenty eyeshadow stick. I was impressed with how it applied, and we'll just have to see how it wears throughout the day. Moving on to mascara, let's try the new Benefit Fan Fest. So they did send this to me in PR as well. And this claims to be a fanning and volumizing mascara that fans out lashes side to side, amplifies volume, and multiplies the look of lashes. It has a full flex fiber brush, which has a 40% curve that lifts root to tip and reaches corner to corner. So I am always excited to try a new mascara. And this formula, I feel like it started out very wet, but it dries super fast. Like, it's pretty much almost dry already. So I don't know that I can even add a second coat here. I'm just trying to comb through a couple of clumps, but I do think it's giving quite a bit of length and volume, and also some nice curl to my lashes as well. I didn't curl them beforehand, but I actually really like the effect this gives. It's like a very wide open eye kind of a look, very fanned out. I like it. And then as far as on the affordable or drugstore side, I've seen this floating around on TikTok as a possible dupe for the Benefit, and that is the Maybelline Colossal Curl Bounce. I don't even feel like they sound the same as far as what they're supposed to do. And the thing that everybody was kind of comparing was the brush and saying that the brush is similar. So I don't know if I really buy that as far as a reason to call it a dupe, but I decided to just buy this anyway and see what happens. So according to the description, it says this is a washable mascara that delivers lasting bouncy lashes and defies clumps, smudges, and flakes. Its memory curl formula gives 24-hour wear, and the curl and bounce brush separates, coats, and curls up every lash. So I'm very curious to see how this compares, because I really like what the Benefit one did for my lashes. So far, this also feels like a really wet formula. We'll see if it dries as quickly as the Benefit one. I normally do like Maybelline's mascaras. There's quite a few that I like. Right off the start, I don't feel like this is giving quite as much length or volume as the Benefit. My lashes just look a little bit more natural on this side, but I'm just gonna go in with a second coat. I actually didn't have to put a second coat of the Benefit, and I couldn't even if I wanted to, because it was so quick drying that I just wasn't able to, but I felt like I really didn't need to. I just poked myself over here. Okay, so it took us 2 coats to get there, but I do think this actually kind of came out very similar. Let me just zoom you guys in and we'll check it out closer. So to me, I think the Maybelline one actually curls a little bit more than the Benefit one, especially if you look toward the outer edge of my eye. On the Maybelline side, I think my lashes look really curved up, whereas on the Benefit side, the lashes toward the outer corner look a little bit more straight. I mean, I do like the way my lashes look with both mascaras, but I think if you're looking for curl, I would definitely go with the Maybelline one, because this really did a great job at curling up my lashes. But again, so far, I like both of them. Next, when it comes to blush, I got a new one at Sephora recently. This is the Bare Minerals Highlighting Blush, and I got the shade Mauve Glow. So these are absolutely beautiful. I actually wasn't planning on buying it until I tested it in store. I was kind of doing a little swatch on my hand, and the powder is so incredibly soft. It feels amazing, and this Mauve Glow color just really caught my attention because it's such a beautiful pink, and it has that glowiness to it that kind of reminds me a little bit of their bronzers, but this one is maybe even a little bit more glowy than those. So if you don't like a glowy blush or you feel like it highlights texture, you may not love this one, but I just think it's so pretty. And if you're wearing this, you really don't need a highlighter because it's just going to give you that beautiful glow on your cheeks. So it's kind of like a one-step type of a product. So I love how this looks, and I also think a little bit of glow on the cheeks just helps them to look a little bit plumper and juicier. So I think it's absolutely beautiful and perfect also just heading into the holidays, like for parties and stuff like that. And I felt like this reminded me a lot of the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blushes, not in terms of the formula because this is actually a baked product, and the Bare Minerals just has like this really soft velvety pressed powder feel. But this is more so just in terms of the end result because these Essence blushes also give you that really glowy cheek. And this color that I have, Goldie Cassis, it looks purple in the pan, but I feel like swatched out, it really does look very similar to the Bare Minerals. It's like a really pretty cool tone pink actually in a swatch. So I just wanted to compare them side by side and see if the Essence could be a cheaper alternative for the Bare Minerals. And I also feel like the color is really similar once it's on the cheeks. You can't tell a whole lot of difference. The Essence side might have just slightly less glow, which some of you again might prefer. So if you want that more pop-in type of highlight, go for this one. I think the Essence one is just a little bit more subtle, but it's pretty close. Next up, Sigma actually sent over some new lip creams, and these look so good. So these are available on the Sigma website. I do have a coupon code Jen Phelps to save 10% off in case you're interested. And these claim to be insanely smooth and that they're lighter on the lips than a traditional liquid lipstick and more pigmented than a gloss. So they're kind of like a cross between a gloss and a regular liquid lipstick. They're enriched with jojoba oil, sunflower seed oil, and vitamin E. They're creamy, non-sticky, and add a protective layer of color and hydration to keep your lips looking soft and supple all day long. I have the shade New Mod right here. I figured I would just put this on one side of my lips, and then I have a more affordable alternative as well. So, oh wow, do you see the pigment in this? It's crazy. These do not have a scent, by the way. They do feel really soft and smooth. There's no stickiness to these whatsoever. They feel really nice, actually. But sometimes I do really want more color than a gloss is going to give, so I guess that's where a product like this comes in. And also this. So this one is from Moira. It's their Glow Getter Hydrating Lip Oil. So these, even though they say they're a lip oil, they have a little bit of a thicker texture than a normal oil. They feel a little bit more like a gloss, but again, they're non-sticky, just like the Sigma ones, and they have a ton of pigmentation, way more than you would ever think a lip oil or a gloss would have. And this is the shade Au Naturel, which isn't exactly the same as the New Mod shade that I used in the Sigma, but I feel like it's pretty close, so we're just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna put it on this side over here. Yeah, this one is a lot more mauve-y. The Sigma one, even though it said it was a mauve color, it has a little bit more warmth to it, and I feel like the Moira one has a little bit more purple. So please try to ignore the fact that these are two different colors, but like as you can see, they apply so similarly, they look pretty much identical. They have the same amount of shine. They feel exactly the same. The Moira one also has no fragrance. So I think that these are an extremely similar product. I also do have a coupon code for Moira to save 15% as well. So I'll leave everything down in the description box. But yeah, anyway, I feel like I got a very similar look over here on the affordable side, spent a lot less money than over here with the high-end side. I mean, I'm having trouble telling the difference with a lot of it. And in some cases, I even like the more affordable side better. So you guys will have to let me know what you think, but I'm gonna go about the rest of my day. I will be back because my thoughts and feelings on everything might change depending on how everything wears throughout the day. So I will see you all in a little bit. Hey all, it's been about 7 hours or so since I applied everything and I wanted to go 8, but tonight is Meet the Teacher night at my son's school, so I'm not gonna have time to film it later on. I have to just go get dinner ready after this, so I still wanted to check in because I feel like 7 hours is at least a significant amount of time and we can just kind of see how everything is holding up. So I did have to reapply the lipstick. I just reapplied the Moira one, so I didn't have two-tone lips, but these have a similar wear time to a regular lip gloss, maybe like an hour or so. If you're eating, you know, they're going to come off pretty quickly. You have to reapply them. And I feel like both of these are really solid options, and I love that they don't have fragrance. So overall, I do think these have a very similar feel. The Moira ones obviously being a lot less expensive, but also Sigma may have some colors that you're interested in over the Moira one. So it really just depends, but I would say you can't go wrong with either one. Also, when it comes to the Drunk Elephant drops versus the Hamish Artless Glow Base, I felt like both of these give my skin a really beautiful glow. I like that this is actually my SPF as well. It just has a really beautiful, elegant texture, kind of similar to this one. And another option, if you like this as well, to check out is the Versed one that I talked about in the beginning of the video, because that is really similar to this, and it also has some skincare ingredients in it. But at the end of the day, I really don't feel like you have to spend all the money on this one when there are so many other glowy primers out there. Unless you're wearing it by itself, it's really not going to look much different under makeup if you just use a different one. So I don't feel like this is really worth the money. When it comes to the two blushes, I think they're both holding up about the same. I think they've kind of faded slightly, but not really. I mean, I think they're really holding their own. And I don't feel like the Bare Minerals is lasting longer than the Essence one. So, I mean, this Essence blush is one of my favorites for a reason. Again, I think you could totally go with the Drugstore one here. This one was even just slightly less glowy than the Bare Minerals, so that also might be a selling point for some of you. When it comes to the eyeshadow, I think both palettes are looking pretty much about the same. I don't feel like the ColourPop one wore away any more than the Patrick Ta. I think they actually both look really good right now. And same thing with the eyeshadow sticks. I don't have creasing on either side, the Fenty or the Milani. I think they're both holding up beautifully. Overall, I think this is another instance where you could just save money and get the Milani one, unless of course Fenty makes a certain color that Milani doesn't have. You might want to spend the extra money there. Also, when it comes to the mascara, I think they still both look really good. I don't have any smudging underneath my eyes at all from either one. There's also no flaking, so I think they both hold up really well. In the beginning, I did feel like the Maybelline one had more curl, but over the course of the day, I feel like they fell just a little bit, so they're not quite as curled up as they were in the beginning, but it looks a little bit closer to what the Benefit one looks like now. So I think maybe the Maybelline formula is just like slightly heavier and just weighed my lashes down a little. But I also did have to put 2 coats of this on, so that might have added to the weight a little bit, whereas I only had to use 1 coat of this one. I do really like both of these. I like how they really fanned out my lashes and gave me that nice false lash look. So I have no problems with either one of these as well. And then last but not least, let's talk about the concealers and powders on both sides. So I'm just gonna take a closer look and we can see what these are looking like. So I do think both sides look pretty good. And I don't know if it's just me, so you guys will have to let me know, but I feel like the House Labs and Huda Beauty side just looks like it's settling into the wrinkles under my eye just slightly more. And that area just looks a little bit less bright than the other side and maybe a little tiny bit drier. I mean, I think it still looks decent, but I think for me, I'm just liking the Flower Beauty and I'm Mimi side a little bit more, but you'll have to let me know what you guys think as well. But overall, guys, I'm pretty happy with everything I tried, both high-end and drugstore or affordable. I didn't feel like there were any huge duds in today's video. Everything applied really nicely and also lasted really well throughout the day. So ultimately, I think whatever side you choose, you'll probably be pretty happy with it. But you guys will have to let me know if you've tried any of these products and what your thoughts are on them. And also, if you guys have some extra time and you'd like to see some more of my unsponsored makeup reviews, I'll go ahead and just put a playlist right up here that you could check out next. And I just want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here on my channel. I really, truly appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all in my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.